Hello Watch Fam, I'm the Chirpy Panda and welcome to my affordable watch channel where I review, unbox and give first impressions of affordable watches and figure out how I can get those watches onto your wrist. Today we are reviewing kind of like a long-term in-depth review of the Addies Dive / Steeldive Pilot Flieger watch in the Type A configuration. As you can see here, I've got it in the NATO strap. I think I mentioned it in my first impressions and unboxing that the original strap is absolute crap. And there's literally no way around it. It just wasn't good. I just could not. It felt bad, and I just decided that it would look better in a NATO strap, as you can see here. So I'm going to get into more detail. Let me just quickly show you here. Look how sexy that looks. But I'm going to go into more detail about all the pros, the cons, and whether you should buy this watch, especially at the right price. Spoiler alert, it is a very good watch for the right price. Anyways, it's coming out right up after this intro. Alright, welcome back guys. So in front of me is the Addies Dive or Steeldive pilot watch in the Type A configuration. This watch I kind of bought in conjunction with the Escapement Time watch. Now Escapement Time obviously is a different brand, but I was kind of shopping online for a pilot watch and I wanted both. I wanted the Type A and Type B. Very greedy of me, but you know, here we are. They were really cheap to have. The Escapement Time I think I got for 120, 130, and this one was even cheaper. It was 110, and I think it could be had for 90. Both of them comes in styro dial. This one actually comes with a Steeldive or Addies Dive logo. However, I opted to have the sterile dial so that it can kind of mimic more of what the pilot watch was back in the day. You've noticed that I've actually changed it over to the kind of green military NATO strap, which matches it very well. However, it did come with a leather strap. Before we jump into the full review, let's talk about specs. As I mentioned, this is the Addies Dive pilot watch in Type A configuration. It comes in a multitude of different bands. However, I got a leather strap with it. In terms of the diameter of the case, it is a 39mm diameter. Very interesting. Normally it's 38, but this is 39. With the crown, it is 42, I believe. Lug to lug is 47.4. The thickness, obviously without the band, is 12mm. It has a sapphire crystal, which is flat. I do not believe it has any, oh no, it probably does have anti-reflective coating. It doesn't say that it has anti-reflective coating, but I feel like it does, but it is not blue or anything like that. It has a Japanese Seiko NH35 inside as the movement. And there isn't any stated water resistance, but I think on the back it does say. Nope, the back is completely sterile. There is no stated water resistance. However, it is a screw down crown, so it's a threaded crown. So take what you will with that. I probably still wouldn't go diving or doing anything crazy. Maybe the pool, but that's as far as I'm going to get with this watch. In terms of how it wears and how comfortable it is, I've got really kind of small wrist. I've got a 6¼ inch wrist, and it is perfect, absolutely perfect for me with a 39 case diameter. If anything, 38 probably would have worked even better for me. Having said that, 39 I think fits most, if not everyone's kind of wrists. So very well done with that sizing. Having said that now, and people that are more purist and whatnot, they will say that, well, you know, a pilot watch should be bigger. It should be 44, 46. At least 42. So I agree. I could have gotten another watch from Congret. I think that's another brand for much cheaper, $80 with the same movement at 42mm. However, because I got the Escapement Time at 42, I wanted to see what a 39 looks like, especially with this Type A configuration where it's very simple. So with the 12 having a triangle 2 dots, which is what the Type A requirement needed to be, at afar you can actually quite easily see that without the glare. However, up close it is still gorgeous to look at, and it doesn't need to be 42 is what I'm trying to get at. Now note, in this complication, unlike the Escapement Time, which used the same movement, NH35, they had a blind date, a hidden date or ghost date, whereas this one opted to put the date in. Once again, this steers them slightly away from the original Type A configuration. However, I applaud them for that, because it's not just, okay, let's just take someone else's design and chuck it on. They decided that, you know, why not use the actual date? The date is great. I love how there's a date on this one. If anything, this makes it the better pick out of the two different pilot watches that I have, purely because I use the date functionality a lot. I didn't realize that until I didn't have it. You know the saying where you know how much you love it once you miss it? Something along those lines, right? So once I didn't have that date complication, I realized how important that it actually was. Now moving on to the dial. So everything is painted on, and it uses quite a generous amount of, they say KG Swiss C3 Super Lume. I don't know too much about it. I've never been a huge lume fan, but however, this thing glows, and I think it actually glows better than Escapement Time, and it's almost on par, not quite, with the Lumibrite on the SKX007 that I have, because I did a comparison, which I'll probably chuck it onto the video for you to see. Now, as everything is painted on, it feels relatively flat. But the amount of lume they put on actually gives each one of the hour indices a little bit of dynamic, a little bit of depth, if you can call it that. So the hands are also painted completely with the lume. However, the seconds hand is not, so it doesn't glow at night. And if you need to keep track of the seconds hand at night, this watch is probably a no-go for you. Having said that, the generous amount of lume on the minutes and hour hand hopefully suffices or makes up for that lack of lume on the seconds hand. So that's the dial. It's relatively basic. It's got a cutout window for the date. Nothing much to harp on about after that. Having said that, once we move on to the case, I can say that the case is really well brushed. So it's not high polished. Having said that, there is a step here, just where the bezel is, that is it's polished but not high polish. It's like a slight polish. It was very weird. You can tell that it's slight polish because the crown here, it's not signed. It's kind of more shiny or more polished than this little edge there. So it's less polished, however it steps up onto a kind of slanted bezel that goes onto the flat crystal, which sits relatively flush. It's slightly proud, ever so slightly proud, but it's flat, a sapphire crystal. On the back, it is a completely sterile case back. There is no markings of anything. If anything, I would have loved if they actually put the actual military specifications here, how Laco and Stowa does. I don't believe there's a requirement, or maybe there is a requirement for you to be official creator of the watch to do it. I'm not sure. However, it is completely sterile. Much like the Escapement Time watch that I reviewed before, for some reason, they kind of cheapen out, or they gave up on brushing the finishing just where this case, the lug area is. Maybe they make an assumption that nobody sees it, but I do. And I see that is kind of very, very rough. Having said that, the lugs have been brushed very well. The horizontal brushing on the side of the case is very well done as well. And in terms of the actual crown, that's one thing that I really like about this watch. The crown is not signed, however, it is threaded so that if you were ever to jump in the pool, you will know at least that water won't be coming in here. I can't say for sure about the case back and the crystal, but at least this part should be sealed. Now, the threading is great. It doesn't feel like it's metal on metal. A lot of other watches, especially the Escapement Time, when I'm threading the crown in, it feels like it's metal grinding against metal, and I always fear whether over time would the thread dissipate, or would it kind of break the case where I can no longer thread it properly, or would it pop out. So this one, it doesn't feel like that. It might be that they actually added some oil into that area, which it gives it a better threading feeling. And once again, because it's NH35, my favorite thing to do is to wind the watch. Love that feeling. I love the spring in it. That is not too much resistance, but it's just right where I can kind of play around with it. As with the NH35, the seconds hand is hackable. When you pull the crown completely out, that's when you change the date. So the first position is you can change the date, and you see here, quick set, and that's it. Very simple movement, very robust. Runs about, say, 8-second fast a day. Nothing to harp home about, nothing to talk too much about. Very easily to service. Most watch repairers, watchmakers, whatnot, will be able to take this apart, services very, very quickly. And you can change it yourself. You can probably pop the hours, hands out the dial, change the movement yourself completely. It only costs about $50 for the movement if you were to ever break it for whatever reason. So that's the movement in it. It's very, very simple. The watch itself, I mean, there isn't heaps of stuff to talk about. So the lug width is 20 millimeters, which means the strap options is huge. So if I was to do some pros and cons, let's start with the pros, right? Number one is that it finally comes with a date complication that a lot of pilot watches does not. I mean, I know the IWC Little Prince one does. I can't afford that type of, that's not the type of money that I have in the bank, if you know what I mean. And because of the specification, I like this more than an Escapement Time watch, which doesn't have the decoupling. I know that is a very subjective thing, but hey, it is my channel. I can say what I want, right? The other thing I like is that it is the sizing of it. Number one, 39 mil, fits me perfectly, 6.25 inch wrist. But the lug width being 20 mils allows me to change up the strap and change the look of it substantially over time. So the strap that this came with was I think it's a fake black leather strap, and it's just rubbish. I kind of just chucked it. It's in the box. I'm not going to take it out. There's no point. Just assume you're going to change the strap as soon as you get it. So pick the option. If there's an option of multiple strap, pick the one with the cheapest, like the cheapest one that you can get, and then chuck it out. I mean, unless it comes with NATO, which it drops the price a bit, there's no point getting the fake leather. It's not going to do you any justice. So I like how I can change the strap quite easily. The other thing is that the lume of this is amazing for what it is. Like if I was just to turn the lights off here, let me charge it like Superman, right, fully charged. Can you see the lume? Look at that. It's already loomed. Look how great that lume is. And this is like broad daylight, by the way. I know it looks darker now that I turned the lights off, but it is the middle of the day right now. The time's incorrect on the watch. And the lume is absolutely great at night. And obviously having the triangle and the 2 dots on the 12 o'clock means that if I'm wearing it, I'll easily be able to see the time. Let me check on the wrist, by the way. So as I continue, those were the kind of the pros of why I like this watch. Now, one of the cons of the watch, funny enough, is also the green kind of painted lume. A part of me just wish there was white. I really do wish there was white, because the Escapement Time watch was able to achieve this, as you can see here. So they're using BGW9 lume. This one's using C3 lume. Why couldn't it just be white? It would look so much better if the indices and the hand, everything was just white. It would just look so military-like. I know green, military, yada yada, but the white is what's going to make it pop, I feel. So that's kind of like a missed opportunity in my review. The other is that this brand, Addies Dive, which I think is a sub-brand of Steeldive, if it was to break, I don't know how the warranty is going to go, because if I send it back, it's going to cost me way more than what the watches cost. So the price is another pro. It's only 110, right? Maybe I'll just need to suck it up and buy another one if it were to break. So if you worry about like longevity and maintenance and stuff like that, being, I guess, the Chinese brand, I don't know what type of longevity there is there. But I don't know, like there isn't that many cons to me. That's basically it. So let's kind of flip the camera around and have my kind of like my final thoughts whilst I do this really dramatic slow wrist roll. I think it's too tight on me right now, but you know, it is what it is. It looks really good. Welcome back, guys. So that was my in-depth review of the Addies Dive / Steeldive Pilot Flieger Type A configuration watch. I always have to kind of caveat that it is a Steeldive or a Addies Dive, largely because people probably look for Steeldive despite this being an Addies Dive, but it's actually the same company. So I apologize if it sounds really weird every time I say it, but that's what it is. And this Type A Flieger watch is, for lack of a better word, an absolute steal if you can get it for the, I guess, 90 or under USD. So I think it's actually already there, or maybe probably cheaper, because when I bought it, it was as 110, 115 Australian, which works out to be 90, but I think the price has been reduced recently. So I'll leave a link down below. It was all affiliate links, so just as a heads up, you don't pay extra for it, but the channel does get a little bit of a kickback and it does help us. So if you want to check it out and buy it, I implore you to use that link. You don't have to, but if you do, I would forever be grateful. And in terms of if you should buy it, as I think I mentioned already, you should definitely 100% go for it. Do it. If I was to compare this and the Escapement Time, I much prefer this, despite the Escapement Time watch, which I kind of have it here. I guess it's a better quality watch than Escapement Time. However, for my wrist and how I kind of go day to day, once again, your mileage may vary. I like how it's a relatively simple dial, so I can kind of dress up and dress down. So I can chuck a leather strap on this and it'll kind of be slightly more dressy. I'm not going to go black tie with it, but I can go to work with a, you know, a suit and tie with it. It's got a date complication, which I keep harping on about. This is actually one of the few functionality I require a watch to have. I've just realized that after not having it in the Escapement Time watch. Most other watches have it. Most of my other watches have it, I should say. And because it's not a dress watch, if it's a dress watch, I don't think I care as much, but because it could be a daily and it could be a field watch. I could be camping where electricity could be scarce and I would rely on this to know what day it is, or date at least, and I don't have that functionality on that Escapement Time, whereas on the Addies Dive Type A watch I can do that, so that's a plus for me. But yeah, it's a simple watch. There isn't that much to talk about. Sometimes I kind of look at this, I'm like, how can I squeeze more content out of it? But yeah, this is what it is. You should go out and get it, especially under 90 USD or even around 90. It's completely fine, and it's an NH35 movement in there. It's an automatic movement in this. Japanese automatic movement in this watch. You just can't. Seiko can't even do it, even though they can manufacture the movement. So that's what it is. So if you haven't liked the video already, please consider liking it. Leave a comment. Tell me if you purchased the watch. And if you haven't already subscribed, consider subscribing. I post a lot of watch reviews, first impressions, unboxing, and I'll be doing a lot of custom build watches as well. So join me on that journey if you're interested. Anyways, you guys have been amazing. I'm the Chirpy Panda, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.